and Keisha. Join us at 9 p.m.
Well, I can say that I did try Nando's.
Okay.
I took your advice that day,
Yeah.
and I did it. And they said to me, the scheme didn't apply because I was doing takeaway. I said, my friend David told me that it worked. I have the receipt, which I'm going to send to try to get my rebate.
You're going to have to.
Yeah. No, from you.
Did you? Well, for me, listen, people not having the right sort of headspace, the right sort of thought to then attach themselves to particular propaganda.
Keisha, I admire your ability to do that. Okay, whatever ability. Yeah.
Sense of humility, you know, taking a humble pie there.
Taking a humble
Fine,
pie.
James.
Yeah. Keisha, what do you think about it? Have you guys ever experienced like someone, well, walking across the road from you? Well, that was happening a lot.
Shouldn't we be sorting out the vaccine? Seriously?
Sorry?
Shouldn't we be sorting out or actually find the vaccine? I mean, do we have so much time to be blaming, oh, it's the white population or the black population? I mean, seriously, we should be unified. You know, we should be coming together.
Well, no, I must admit, I mean, it's the approach, the narrative from the Tory MP isn't healthy. I think the blame game doesn't help. And when we're hearing, particularly, he's a Yorkshire MP, he's saying that there's obviously a large population of ethnic minorities in that particular area where they live in homes that are.
I can't hear anything.
I can't hear anything as well.
Ah, okay. Okay, good. That's not just us. It's Silbon.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, Silbon, the whole spiel. We couldn't hear a thing.
You couldn't hear anything?
Nothing at all. You had us on mute.
Really?
I don't know if anybody has heard.
Well, I don't even... Well, if nobody has heard, well, let me start again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Silver Insidio. And if you missed out anything, I'll just test it to see if your ears are working very well. And if not, well, you can hear it twice. Because guess what? Some can't hear it even once. So therefore, this week, it's talking about lots of announcements. You got the Kamala Harris for president. You have Jamaica talking about the election, September the 3rd. And the recession, I was going to say depression, recession is on in the UK. And so much more. COVID is still there. That geezer, we're on the corner. Don't watch it out. He's coming back. I said to somebody, look out, COVID's about. That was Beagle. You know the Beagle? The Beagle show, look out, Beagle's about. David, were you born?
Jeremy Beadle.
Was going So anyway,
yeah,
good evening,
I
guys.
remember Jeremy Beadle, man. Back in the day.
Yeah.
Good evening. How you doing?
I'm good. Kima, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm good. And Keisha?
Yes, I'm doing well. Looking forward to having the chat today.
Okay.
There's a lot happened this week. You know, just keep rolling. So much changes happening in the news. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this week, as I mentioned, so much has happened, and And ladies and gentlemen, what we try to do each week is try to have these topics which start to set out during the course of the week. And during the course of the week, it keeps changing. And today it's even changed at the same time. But as these guys are so much abreast of the news, top CNN, top BBC, listen, people keep saying that, oh, you need to go on the mainstream. What they fail to understand, this is a mainstream right here.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So listen, recession in the UK. I think it's best we start with that because that link with COVID. Many people are saying that this was going to happen already. And they're surprised maybe that it happened, but they actually hold the figures back. What's your take on this recession, which is mentioned now? Is it COVID inspired? Kima?
Well, to be honest, we expected a recession. I think we've mentioned, Richie did mention this earlier up in the year, April, March, that it's going to be the worst economic downturn. And it's been reported it's actually the worst in the last 11 years. And the last 3 months has caused a 20% decrease in terms of the economy. So that's a huge loss for us. And there's a lot that we as a country will be going through. I mean, now it's just been the tip of the iceberg. We know that there's already a lot of companies have announced huge redundancies, and we know the furlough scheme comes to an end in October, which means it's going to be even worse. It's going to be a lot deeper for a lot of people to have to cope and go through. And, it's going to be a very trying time. A lot of people are going to have to try and dig deep. And, Richie was saying, it's a lot of people have been working in the same companies for years, isn't it? Yeah. And now they're going to have to find another trade. And companies are also looking at ways to digitalize. So there's going on. Absolutely. So they modernize the way they're working before, and people are going to have to retrain in order to get new jobs. And it's going to be even tougher today. The announcement of A-levels coming out as well means there's going to be a lot more young people coming through in the job market who obviously are inexperienced. And that itself will mean that there's going to be a lot more people to try and get to into the workplace. But not only that, you've got older people, a lot of them who've been made redundant, going to have to try and find jobs as well. So there's a lot of work in terms of the economy to get the economy back up and running as well. Right. And you've got some major stores that have been shops that we are used to have made huge announcements in terms of redundancies this week, and schools as well. What's going to be happening with schools? All depending on what's happening with COVID. So it's a really trying time, difficult time for the economy and also for a lot of people.
And as you mentioned about school a while ago, a lot of students are actually unhappy. They're talking about it, some of the results which they're seeing. But that's another thing going on. David, your take on the recession?
Yeah, I mean, so all this is obviously COVID inspired. I think what COVID has done is tested the waters with regards to the stability of businesses. Those businesses that are much more watertight, they've probably come through this particular period unscathed to a degree, manner, or fashion. But those businesses that have always been teetering on the edge, have unfortunately succumbed to the virus itself. From a workplace point of view, from a staffing point of view, they're going under. One of the biggest, or one of the furniture chains, Harvey's, obviously has gone under recently as well. So I think that with that, it creates opportunities. It creates space for other businesses to potentially flourish. Kima's touched on sort of changes in work environment, people working from home and potentially changing their particular job roles to try and sort of become more marketable themselves going forward. I'm in a degree of positivity with this. You have to, I think, when you face challenges. The writing was on the wall with regards to recession as soon as the furlough scheme rolled out. We knew this was going to come into fruition. People weren't working, people weren't going out into the community. The positivity here is what I would give to people today is that this really shows that we need to get out into the workspaces. We need to get out into the high street. We need to get out where it's safe to do so to sort of make things move forward and to give that degree of positivity to your mental state. And I know this isn't particularly on the recession topic here, but I'll just touch on one story that I had this week when I went to the gym. A guy who came to the gym, went swimming, hadn't come out of the house for 4 months, and it was a blessing that the gym had opened up for him. And went swimming and really thoroughly enjoyed it. And that was a good conversation I wouldn't normally have with somebody, but he said, "Oh, I really enjoyed that." This is a 60-odd-year-old chap who had retired and who just was so enthusiastic about being outside and being out in the real world. And so it's a credit for gyms to have opened safely and businesses to start thriving again, because this will help people. You know, the fact is, this guy opened back his gym membership. He's paying into the gym. That's putting people forward in terms of people who work for the gym. They're able to put bread on the table for their kids, for their family, and we need to get going again as a nation to keep things ticking over.
So what you're actually saying is that even though COVID is hanging around, but it is something that we have got to somehow learn to adapt with and get the economy going, because if we don't, we're going to keep seeing recession. I mean, the furlough thing cannot keep going on forever. Keisha, yes?
Yes,
I'm getting there.
You're getting there. I absolutely right, Kima and David. You're both spot on. So COVID has been the recession is a byproduct of COVID. So I think we all expected this, to happen, or we would, as a country, get to this place now. And again, in terms of a recession, it is, a natural economic life cycle. So we've been through this before as a country, and we've rebuilt as a nation. And so, I don't think it's anything too much to worry about. But what we do need to do is to undertake what I'll describe as a self-examination process, or self-evaluation process, which is, each and every one of us, every individual now will have to go back to basics and, check our spending, for example, how we, get ahead of our debts. If it means if you're losing your job, clearly you need to work hard to get your CV up again and get together and get yourself another job. If you have a job and you realize that, it's given the circumstances, you might need a second job. So you'll have to adjust so that you can actually get ahead and to get on top of what's happening around us. You may have to refine and diversify your skill set, as Kima and David touched on. So I think it's for all of us to actually check ourselves, reevaluate our position, where we are. Yes. And then given that we've been in lockdown for such a long time anyway, I think we had sufficient time to consider, our next move. And I believe, given the circumstances, we have no choice now but actually to make these adjustments.
Yes. I think one of the questions that I put out to persons out there, those on YouTube, as I'm looking at now, and those on Facebook, is what is your take on recession? Are you looking forward to it? It was a silly question, maybe. Some are actually looking forward to it because they may benefit from it. But it's what is a recession? It's a normal time a country economy grows. Its citizens on average becomes, and here it is, in citizens, on average becomes slightly richer as the value of goods and services produced, its GDP increases. But sometimes the value of goods and services produced falls. A recession is usually defined as when this happens for a 2-3 months period or quarters in a row. This has now happened in the UK for the first time since 2009. If a recession carries on for a long time or is particularly bad, it is known as a depression. And during the course of when I was introduced, I was alluding to the word depression. So I'd love to know from viewers what's your take on this. And please like and share the video, which would be great. Those on YouTube as well, and look at it for now. You guys mentioned something about, and this is something we have been all talking about during this whole COVID period and this COVID-inspired season, is that people have to learn to now adapt to new ways of thinking. Mm-hmm. Keisha, you just mentioned a while ago reviewing your CVs. I understand that people are going for jobs now, which they're very overly qualified for, but they just want to get on that job ladder. It's like they're starting back over. It's a trial time, isn't it, guys?
Yeah. And I'm sure Kima will have quite a bit to say on that. But, and I understand people, especially if you're a professional, you're a high achiever, and suddenly you may have lost your job and you made it redundant. But then you find that you have no choice but to take any job. But to me, I think you're better off taking the job, get on with actually taking the job, and because there's so many opportunities, the point is to actually find out is to continue learning. So even a job that is actually low paid, as long as it gives you opportunity to obtain another skill, to develop your knowledge, then I think is opportunity for you to go for it, because it allows you to find your innovation or your creativity. It helps you develop those type of skills. And so I would encourage everyone to, if that's the situation you find yourself in, it's unfortunate that a lot of people are being made redundant at this time, but you just have to take whatever job that comes to you and take it from there. It's one level and then get to another level. That's what I would suggest.
Kima, is it a bit like building your, and David as well, just for this one, it's like building your credit rating all over again, isn't it? Like a credit rating has been...
Well, to be honest, still, you know what? I mean, I'm not overly negative on this, because sometimes change could be good for some people. I mean, there's a lot of people who come out of redundancy and go into much better jobs, and because they've stayed in jobs for such a long time, they underestimate themselves and their ability. The thing about it is that there's lots and lots of opportunities in terms of what you've gained, your experience over the years. It's how you use that skill set, how you use your training, how you learn your learning from one job. And you just need a bit of support in terms of identifying those and using that to get a much better job. So, I mean, there's opportunities there, but it may not be a lot of jobs out there. So you need to be a lot more creative in terms of what you do. Sometimes you might see it as a bit of a step back, but sometimes you've got to step back to jump forward, And that is sometimes the realistic thing that people need to bear in mind. And it's not a bad thing if you might have to take an apprenticeship scheme or take another opportunity of retraining another job. It might be a good thing for you, if you get older and you want to try something different, it's an opportunity to reflect and think, okay, I've been working in the same job for the last how many years? This is exactly not something I want to do anyway. So it's a good time to reflect and think, you know what, I'm going to choose to do something that I want to do. Maybe start your own business, come up with something creative, something that you enjoy. And it might just be something, a good time for you to do that. So, I mean, it's going to be a very difficult time for a lot of people, but some people will come out of it much better off, and some people might be a lot more positive. The problem, I think, overall, there is the uncertainty, and the government really hasn't helped. And where there is uncertainty makes it really difficult for people and businesses. And where it's difficult for businesses, they won't create jobs, they won't advertise for jobs, because people aren't sure what's going to happen in the next 6-7 months, where we're going to have another lockdown again. What's the future? And where we've got uncertainty is always going to be a trial, and it would help in terms of the recession.
Yeah. Dr. David Burton, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Burton is here, and ophthalmologist. I think your jobs are sort of bulletproof, isn't it, David?
I wouldn't say bulletproof.
Yeah, I'd like to know that.
Yeah. I love a bulletproof job. No, I wouldn't say bulletproof. I think obviously health is wealth, but the fact is that when it comes to provision of health and services, it's been a challenging time for the NHS, a really challenging time, because we've on one hand had to really balance the direct immediate effect of COVID on not just on patients, but also on the workforce as well, and versus the normal. I say the normal, that the other health problems that people will have in bringing them into the hospitals as well. So it's been a really difficult, challenging time, and I don't think we're there yet in regards to striking that balance. Obviously, the burden of COVID now is far less within the hospitals than it has been over the recent months. And I would hope that maintains its course. But the NHS is definitely worried in regards to the future. And so, in regards to that, we're worried from a winter effect point of view. So we still have particular avenues to explore just in case there is another second spike during the winter. So yes, as healthcare professionals, we're here to serve patients, and we'll always be here to serve patients. But I wouldn't say it's a cast iron guarantee that all jobs are safe within the NHS. Yes. It's definitely not the case, and we're trying our best to sort of bring our services back to normal. But again, I must echo the fact that whilst we're open for business, we're just not quite there yet.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add something on that, Silborn, because I don't know how many people use the NHS quite recently, but you will realize that, to me, I feel like it's a bit of a skeleton service, if you want to put it that way. You don't get to see your GPs much as you probably like to, everything is going to be done over the phone, and you don't get to go and see your hospital, go to your hospital appointments. You still, those appointments are still not coming back as they used to be in terms of the numbers. And so I think, for me, I'm slightly worried in terms of we're focusing on COVID, but I'm thinking the other illnesses like cancer are all put in the back burner. And I'm thinking once we resolve COVID, because we have left those bigger, or some other underlying issues, we might have a bigger crisis ahead in the NHS. But that's
Kima, I completely agree with you, and that's why I've really tried to champion the idea that if people do have health problems, then they really need to contact their practitioners. I know that's not an easy task, but don't suffer in silence. And I think that's one of the things that has happened, unfortunately, because of COVID. People have suffered at home, had heart attacks at home, had strokes at home, and not encountered immediate hospital attention. So people must engage with hospital services if required. I'm not saying to go overboard, quite obviously, but people must engage with health professionals and seek that attention and not suffer in silence.
And what Lisa King has said, one of our viewers, that new position might give you a new perspective in the new profession. I mean to say, whenever, sometimes things happen in life, and actually it wakes you up maybe to step into your real calling is, isn't it? And this is one of the things that we spoke a lot about during the whole COVID period. What is it? Coach Chris Brown, Anthony Francis, different persons that came on the show talk about what to look forward to, how you can change, not to just sit back, but to move forward, really. But David, as we just slip and move away from recession, as we call it, COVID inspired, where are we now with COVID? Because we try to track that visa.
Yeah, let's track COVID. Well, we've already touched on obviously the effects of COVID here. A recent government report has issued the fact that obesity is high on the agenda. 40% increased risk of succumbing to COVID if you are obese. So there's been a narrative to try and get the nation healthy. And I think this should have happened despite COVID, to be honest, but that's tipped us into that kind of remit. So I talked a little bit earlier about going to the gym, getting physically fit, making sure your headspace is right by getting your physical health right as well. And I think that's the next push, the next agenda. And I think that's something that has been COVID inspired. I guess that could be a new hashtag, COVID inspired, from all of this, but to sort of push our health in a better space, in a better place. So that's one of the government initiatives. So one of the fallbacks with that was not having unhealthy adverts on TV between particular times. And obviously getting cycle to work schemes and getting people riding their bikes, etc., to try and get people physically fit. The reopening of the gyms has been fantastic in that regard as well. But I think there should be some kind of formal encouragement to get people into sort of exercise facilities as well, or local groups to try and encourage people to come outside and to walk and to sort of mini rubbing clubs. Those sort of things should really come to fruition. But it is a project. And that's one of the government kind of headlines in respect to COVID. The number two thing that's spun out from this, and we touched on it a little bit earlier, is obviously the A-level results. We had the A-level results that are released in Scotland earlier, and then a dramatic U-turn in regards to the predicted grades as opposed to the grades that were afforded to candidates. And in England, we're obviously going to hear about A-level results very soon. Very, very soon. And there may well be another U-turn in that regard, depending on what happens on the day. So watch this space in regards to A-level results in the UK. But again, this is all stemming from COVID, because we've not been able to sit. We as a nation haven't been able to have our 17, 18-year-olds sit their exams for A-levels and GCSE. So it's been a very torrid time for them. And I particularly think that A-levels, unfortunately or fortunately, are probably the biggest hurdle educationally for throughout our lifetime. You could talk about other things here, SATs, GCSEs, graduating from university, but the actual proof of paper to get into university comes from your A-level results, and a lot depends on that. So I think it's a really trying time for people up and down the country during a particular period. get to do the roles that they would like to do. So I do hope that when the results day comes out, that the government is sympathetic, and then we maneuver around that way, because obviously the fallout from Scotland was terrible for kids, and it needs to be improved.
Some results did come out, David, isn't it? And
well, the A-level results, unless I could be mistaken, come out this week or early next week, unless I'm mistaken.
They came out today, but the GCSE comes out next week Thursday.
There we go. Okay, so that's the thing. Well, we're hearing about those things now, so we'll get an official ruling as to what numbers and all the rest of it, and how the feeling is amongst kids, and that's the problem that we're going to face because of COVID. So that was sort of the number 2 news, and then the third, because I always do nice rule of 3. The third bit was Marks and Spencer's, their food division. Essentially, sandwich making division has been hit by a number of spikes of cases amongst their workers. So they've tested positive for coronavirus. So this goes back to what I was talking about last week, where you're going to get pockets of populations of outbreaks appearing in workspaces, but also in particular community spaces. So in terms of the outbreaks, I've obviously got on top of them, and those people are isolating. We're informed, but I think we're going to hear a lot more about this, where you've got people working in closed environments and closed spaces, and sharing communal areas. Then you may well find that this is going to be something that just becomes more apparent. But the key here is trying to put in place those things that would reduce the chance of this occurring, but also the tracing and the contacting of those individuals, and the testing. The key thing is the testing of individuals in these workspaces. The one thing that there's a fallback of that came out this week is that the contact tracers have been reduced now in the UK. Now, the reasons for that, one could speculate. One could say that it's probably because they weren't having the dramatic workload that we expected them to have, because the number of cases have been, or the number of people that have been contacting has been falling. Yes. But at the same time, we need to make sure that our testing and tracking is a robust system going forward, because, as I say, I don't see coronavirus disappearing anytime soon. We just need to make sure we have the effect to sort of trace individuals and contact them, and make sure that they have adequate space away in isolation. Yeah. So those are my top 3 COVID updates from this week.
Well, what someone said on YouTube, Machinal Jane says, new figures have come out, and they overcooked deaths by 5,000. There's some issues about the figures. We spoke that a lot.
Definitely so. Yeah, definitely so. There's cases of people being tested positive, passing away through other means, and that's really, I think, an unfortunate way of and I use the word unfortunate, but it is an unfortunate way of recording somebody's death, because it doesn't give any comfort from a family point of view, who's obviously in a grieving process. But also to sort of inflate the numbers, it's not productive either. It serves no purpose. And in fact, even if you think about this from a logical standpoint, say 5,000 extra deaths, when you're talking about 45,000 people passing away versus 40,000, that to me is not a challenging difference between the two figures. Yeah. So to inflate the deaths doesn't particularly make perfect sense. I think we need to be more factual. Yeah. We need to make sure that we're recording deaths appropriately. These are unfortunate passings away of persons, and we need to make sure we were using the right terminology in that regard. And so, yes, there have been instances, and obviously there has been reported instances of people being not unfairly, but not rightly deemed to have passed away through COVID and used for our figures.
Keisha, have you been suspicious of these figures, the death figures, when they keep rolling in every day?
I've always been, but unless I don't have facts, I can't really make much of a comment on it. So I'm actually pleased that in a sense that David actually touched on it, because I've had this reservation all along about these numbers, and I've actually heard even my neighbor, at one point, he suggested that to me. He said that he had a situation where people have told him, he knew somebody who in a similar situation who was diagnosed, who went in with one particular treatment and diagnosed with COVID in the end. And, you know, he was convinced that that cannot be right. And as David rightly said, it caused a lot of distress for family members, you know, and people are very much concerned about what they're hearing. And so it's not just a rumor, I suppose. It is the reality. People are being wrongly diagnosed. And I think there should be some type of investigation into it, you know, because there are people talking about it, but we just don't have the facts. And until, you know, we get the information, the statistics, the records to prove that, then there's not much we can do. But there are people who actually are saying, you know what, they wait to get the death certificate. And on the death certificate, it says COVID. And, you know, as in been, you know, died of COVID, when obviously their relative may have gone in for completely something else different. So, you know, that it is an issue that needs to be, you know, discussed and investigated. Absolutely.
Well, I guess they're in the process of having some sort of review on this, because I heard about a man who got run over by a tractor and he died of COVID. I don't know how true that is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Tractor run over him and died of COVID.
But for me as well, so the way I look at it as well, I think a lot of people go into hospital, and because there's a skeleton workforce, if you want to put it that way, right, they might go in for something that is not COVID related, but because of the process where you have to be tested for COVID, the treatment are automatically delayed. And I've got this suspicion as well that itself could affect in terms of people health and well-being whilst they're in hospital. And I think that's something as well that just needs to be investigated and looked into. And I think all of this is causing, you know, the numbers related to COVID death might be
inflated.
If you want to put it that way.
Yeah. So listen, guys. The big one is this, and the big announcement. I mentioned about big announcements, and I'm tempted. I'm tempted to play something. I'm going to play it. Okay, I'm going to play something. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Just one moment.
We can have a Jamaican president? Nah, that might not work. It's not that I don't think Jamaicans are capable. I think you're very smart, very hard-working people. I just think you're very angry. And if we had a Jamaican president, we would have a new war every week. Every week, he'd be standing in front of the White House, just mad. Just what Rosa said? Rosa said something? Say it again, Rosa. Say it one more time. No, say it one more time. I'll match up your country. Say it again. Say it again. You don't see the button? You don't see the button? You don't... You don't want me to push that button?
And there we are. Let me see if I can find my volume back. You can hear me? Yes? Kima and Keisha. Okay. USA, Kamala Harris, Vice President. Is that true, David? You're a Jamaican. Is that Jamaicans are angry people? To become a president?
I don't think angry is the right word. I would say we are very proud people. You can push a button sometimes. You can push somebody's button. We're not angry, not at all. Come on, Balt's not angry.
Well, the big one is Joe Biden has picked Kamala Harris to be his vice president running mate. Everybody's aiming, and the whole essence of it is, I need someone to fight Trump. And when I heard that, someone to fight Trump, it's like the whole target is Trump. Or is it the economy? Is it America they want to run, or is it just they want to win Trump? I don't know. Keisha, somebody go for it, guys. Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you know, it's quite clear, it's quite evident. When the whole world is falling apart, you just can call on a woman to deliver. So I think that's what's happening right now. I suppose Mr. Biden reflected and considered all the potential VPs, and we have Kamala at the moment as a nominee. So I'm actually very excited to have a woman running, and, you know, set aside the fact that it's some people might say, oh, it's sexist, so you shouldn't really you have somebody running just because of their their sex, I suppose. Sorry, their gender, and but I think it's really significant having a woman running as a VP, and it's significant because women. We need to see more women, especially in Western democracy, in leadership position. We need to see women participating in politics. The numbers in America, in Congress, for women being representing. I don't know if you can see me. My computer just went off slightly, but the numbers of women as Congress or running or working in Congress in America is quite low. There's only about what's the numbers? 80. Sorry, it's in America only 89 of over 535 members in Congress are women. So it's a really terrible, a very poor or low number. And I think what we're seeing here is another woman coming forward that is very inspirational. And I think you'll actually drum up or create this opportunity for the wider public, or not just in America, but globally, to see what's happening now in America. We actually do need change. I'm not going to go further than that, but we do think there's a time for a change. There's a time for a changing of the guards, and I believe that Kamala might be the woman to actually do that for us.
When you say changing of the guard, before I go on to Kima, Trump has been president just going on to 4 years. Obama was for 8 years. Bush was for 8 years. Everybody was for 8 years. You say there's a need for changing of the guard now because of Trump, or what? Why change of the guard now in 4 years?
Silvan, why are you pushing me there? I was trying to be general. I was trying to just be generic right there. But given that you actually put me in that position, yes, yeah. I think I have my frustration with Trump. Unfortunately, he doesn't represent. He's not, when it comes to America having a president. It's not just about America. He is actually on the world stage. He is this global superpower, and whatever he does affects the wider, community or the whole nation, not just America, but globally. It affects us all globally. And we need a leader that is very inspirational, that is actually positive, that actually understands diversity. Although sits very high in his position, he is able to come down low and meet people at their needs. Not have that negativity that's been perpetuating for a very long time. We just need a new type of energy, and I think that's what I'm longing for. And I believe it's time for the changing of the guard. I'm hoping it is, yes. And I'm staying positive on that.
Kima?
Surely Kima, who's the expert in politics, will come in with a different idea.
You're more expert than everybody else, but you keep saying other people are experts.
Explain. But I think it's quite exciting. I think it's very exciting for the Democratic Party that they finally select a candidate. They've decided ages ago that they were going to select a black woman for a candidate. So I think they finally picked somebody that they think is quite feisty. I think would give it to the Republican Party, give it to Trump. I think she can do that. She's able to stand up to Trump and the Republican Party. So I think they have picked a really good candidate in terms of her ability to articulate and communicate the message to the wider population. And she's really, I think she'll symbolize the opportunity to unify the country. And I think that's exactly what America needs at the moment. Of course, she's half Jamaican, if you want to put it that way, and half South Asian. So all of that will bring more people, and she'll be able to bring more white women as well. So the demographic that they're looking for, I think she'll be able to represent that. For me, I mean, this week as well, Keisha touched on women in politics. For me, I looked at it and some of the narratives that I've been hearing, I wasn't really comfortable as well, because when you hear in the media that she's only got to where she's got because of a certain man, if you want to put it that way. And for me, that's troubling, because you don't really hear that when men put themselves forward for politics or put themselves forward to top positions in the workplace. You don't hear that at all. But as a woman put themselves forward, the first thing you hear they say is that it's because that she's associated with some guy or the other. That's
with somebody. Come on, just say she slept with somebody.
Is that something?
Yeah.
Some entanglement.
So, entanglement.
Exactly. A whole lot of entanglement. You gotta.
And I don't think we need to go down that route at all. And I mean, of course, this woman is.
You went down the route, not we.
I'm just thinking that this is not something that I think the media need to put out. If you look at it, she's went to a very, very good university. She had a background of she went to Howard. She successfully did finish a university. She went on. She was a state senate. Of course, she was attorney general. So based on her CV alone, she's quite capable and competent to be the vice president of the United States. But furthermore, as well, some of the other criticisms you hear a lot is because she's got the position because she's black. Again, you hear a lot of that in the workplace. You hear a lot of that as well in politics, that sometimes you're the token black person. That's why you get the job. Not looking at the fact that she has the credibility. She's done the work. She's put the job in. And so she's not been rewarded for that top position. And I think that's some of the things that I think that trouble me about this appointment. But I think she'll be able to deliver. She has a tough feat ahead of her, if you want to put it that way. And I think she is the right person to do that.
David?
She's Jamaican. Done.
I think was it some Bo who said to the world, isn't it? You guys are really
exactly.
You guys are really global, aren't you?
There you go. We're all over. We're taking over.
You guys are all over, man.
Taking over.
That's somebody on my Facebook. Somebody on my Facebook page today said Jamaica's got 2 elections this year, so it's like it's a big deal. It's a really big deal.
It's a big deal, which we'll touch on a second one, I'm sure, shortly. But in all seriousness, right? I think that this is fantastic news. I think that for me, and I'm here to eat my words. If I need to eat my hat later on, like Paddy Ashdown said during the Brexit, he'll eat his hat. I'm here to eat my hat. I think this is a game changer. And I'm really excited for her being the VP, and I'm glad that Biden picked her. I agree with you, Kima, in regards to the annoyance regards her partner being the forefront, or the fact that she's a black woman. But actually, you know what? It's how she responds to this, which is going to be the perfect thing. Every president-elect faces challenges, and it's guess. And vice president faces challenges, and it's how they respond to it. And I'm sure she'll respond in a manner that will allow her and Joe to move forward and be the next president and vice president of the United States. I don't think Trump's happy. I think he would have been happier without her being there, to be honest with you, because she's a really good supportive. I think she'll be a really good supportive VP, and she offers something that's completely different to any of the 3 other faces that are out there. The other VP that's there, and for the other side, and the vice president and the president that's currently there, and also the president-elect. So I think she's completely different. I think she will help to sort of bring some unification in regards to the Democrat Party. She has a history to speak on, from her prosecutor days that will obviously may well hinder or may well help her in certain regards, but it's something for her to speak on. And she's changed slightly from that kind of prosecutor role to being a more reformist. So we'll just see how things pan out. I'm happy. Jamaicans take it to the hilt when they go into the athletics track. We take it to the hilt when we practice medicine, and we'll take it to the hilt when we're VP running the country. So I'm excited. I think it's fantastic news.
Well, I'm not jealous of Jamaicans. That's it. Let's move on to a different question. That's it. I mean, seriously,
I need to incorporate the viewers as Beckshan Bet says. Trump stands for the people. That's why the elite don't like him. And Trump 2020. Democrats are fighting the wrong target. But I can say that I actually went to school with one of her cousins, one of her family, when I went to York Castle, because I really look at background here, which her father wrote. As a child growing up in Jamaica, I often heard it said, my parents and family friends, remember where you come from. I continue to retain a deep social awareness. Born as a father, I naturally sought to develop the sensibility in my 2 daughters. Born and bred in America, Camilla was the first in line to have it planted. Maya came 2 years later. It is for them to say truthfully now, not me, what, if anything, of value they carry from them as early experience in adulthood. And he went further, saying, my roots go back within my lifetime to my paternal grandmother, Miss Christiana Brown, descendant of Hamilton Brown, listen to where I'm coming from now, who is on record as a plantation and slave owner and founder of Brownstown. Now, I stopped there when I said Brownstown because I went to a school called York Castle in Brownstown, Jamaica, in Centon, and her family founded Brownstown. So she's from a lineage of Irish and everything and slave owners. But when I look at that, I say, and which is what we say all the while, people move on. People sometimes cannot be blamed for their history of their family lineage, because if that's the case, we all have some blame from previous past. You know, I'm grateful, and I feel it is fantastic that a black woman is there and she's actually setting the stage. But I also put another spin to it, that this could be another setup for a lot of people getting hurt again. I still think there are people sitting in that auditorium waiting for Hillary Clinton to be named the next president of America. Could this be another screensaver? I say screensaver because I said this, I mean, if you didn't like it, Barack Obama could have been a screensaver, whereby he covered and polished over what America is. Trump came and just said, this is America, boom, boom. And therefore, the Democrats actually ensuring that Sleepy Joe, if he falls asleep, they got someone in place. Because I think Sleepy Joe is not going to last for too long, you know. So therefore, Kamala Harris is set up. And it's the reason why I played that video. It may sound a bit like it was being presumptuous, but she could be the Jamaican Irish president. But in a way, we don't know. Just like how in Jamaica, the plan for election by the present prime minister, it could be his next two months in power.
Still going to hold your thought for some time, because, you know, we all felt that, you know, well, personally, I felt that, you know, when Trump became president, I was in shock, obviously. But then I thought, okay, well, it was a setup before for Mike Pence. And we've been hanging out for Mike Pence to take the stage, but it's not happening. So no, I don't think that's likely still. Okay. I think she's just there to be the VP. I'm not expecting anything else more from her.
Okay. Kima?
No, I think you know, there's something mentioned about her track record in terms of her being a prosecutor in the past, and I think, you know, it's the Democrats picked her thinking that she would be a shoo-in and she would actually have all the black vote, particularly black women vote, and it's not necessarily the case, because a lot of supporters of Black Lives Matter are very upset about the fact that she was appointed as the VP because of her past in terms of a prosecutor. She's prosecuted over, I think, 1,500 black men for marijuana possession, and now she's actually a big supporter of marijuana, isn't it, to legalize marijuana. And there was another big case where she was pushing for a black man to be to receive the death penalty. So there's a lot of people who are very grieved by some of the things that happened, and it's not easily forgotten, you know. So I think it's not necessarily a shoo-in, and I think she might just need to work hard to actually win over those same votes that you think the Democrats has really appointed her to do. Yeah.
And I think that's the point I was trying to make earlier. You know, that you know, her prosecutor record will be tested, but I think things happen over time. We as people develop and we change our thought processes over time, and she was in a particular position as a prosecutor, and this is now completely different. She becomes a senator and then becomes a VP. So I think that the thought process, the mindset, the learning and understanding about how things work will change over time. And for that reason, I think if you are able to change that thought process and be more fine-tuned and in line with progressiveness, then you will find yourself probably being on the better side than on the other side. The other thing that I would add in this moment in time is, you know, there's a question as to what happened with the George Floyd movement, right? And I think that this is probably the time that it works best in her favor to be that VP as well. Yeah. And I think if she is, and the Democrats do get elected, then I would say that this is part of that movement, part of that that recognition, that process, exactly, that things had to change. Things have to change, and if there's ever a silver lining, and I don't want any black man to be dying at the death of being knelt on the neck, but I think this may well be one of those things that inspires that change.
So what you're saying, David, is that based on how the shift and the movement is going on, it is following through that threat trend.
Yeah,
George Floyd bit. all these different things, all these changes which are happening, and then we're having someone of I'm not going to say the word BME because you're changing.
Yeah, I've not got a T-shirt yet, so you can't say that. Go on.
You can't say that yet. But having a black woman, a black inspired, because Asian as well. The Asians are owning her. I mean, they're doing big things over there. I mean, nothing is set up for her being black. The Asians are just saying Kamala means this, and anything she does, it's based on her mother, and nothing. You think she's complete. And then Jamaica now is hitting we call it cover, saying Jamaica to the world.
Yeah.
Taking over and say Russia, where I say, oh, I'm gonna mash up your country or something like that, you know. Jamaica, and of course we got Keisha and Kima saying, I'm so bored of these Jamaicans. Here we go.
Here we go.
Look at their face. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm from Jamaica as well. I was born in Jamaica. I think I'm the only legitimate Jamaican here. David is born in St. Thomas, but he's not St. Thomas Hospital. I'm just kidding, David.
St. Thomas Hospital.
I was at Manchester. No, Manchester. What are you talking about?
You were in Manchester?
Oh, no, I was born elsewhere.
So I just want to point out there before we go on further, because Herbert Machinza said, I have deep concern about the political climate in the USA. I'm of the opinion that we'll be in for surprise because of the sabotaging of key areas like the post office. It's definite that America is going through this change as well. And Keisha, yes, Keisha was correct. Keisha was correct when she said that whatever happens in America do affect us. And that is why I say to people sometimes when I speak on something political in America, maybe somebody might not like it. They say, oh, so stay over there with your Brexit and don't talk about America. But at the same time, when you have George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, everybody wants the UK, also and the whole world to come on board. So we've got to say in what is happening in America. And yeah, no problem if we get a Jamaican inside it. No, mash up the country, Russia. You know what I mean? Come touch it.
Man. Run yourself.
Yeah. Now, there's something which was very interesting today, though. And that is Stephen Lawrence's dad. And you've heard about Stephen Lawrence's case whereby the Met is saying they'll have to close the case. But at the same time, they qualified it by saying, even though it's closed, if anything happens, it's open instantly. What's your take on that? And Mr. Lawrence is not happy about that.
I think that the cases, unfortunately, this isn't unknown for cases to be closed cases, and when new news comes to light, that things are reopened again. I think that the thing that makes this a little bit more unpalatable is the history behind this case. The inquiry that opened the doors to the knowledge now that there was institutional racism that took place at the time of this unfortunate killing, and the fact that we know that the murderers are still out there. I think all of that really lends itself to the idea that we can't take this pill. It's difficult for us to swallow. So I don't think that the police force in itself, and in fact, I don't think the police force in itself isn't doing anything that's wrong per se, because we know that cases can be closed and can be reopened at any time. But again, it's because of the situation of this case that makes it unpalatable. And what I would say is impingent on all communities to try and find ways, if at all possible, to keep this ignited, keep this open for justice to be served through means that are necessary. And I think that's the key here. This isn't a black problem, it's not a white problem, it's not an Asian problem, it's a community problem, and we can't stand for the fact that people aren't brought to justice for crimes that they've committed. So we've got to really find a way to sort of open that back up. And I just call on friends, family members of those people who are out there that will know particular bits of information that would help the police to come forward and help the police and close this case finally in the right way once and for all.
Because what it says is that Mr. Lawrence said, I'm not going to accept this is over. Neville giving a movie interview which he reveals how he later found solace with a secret girlfriend and why he believed the police are still racist. And he said, were it not for the pandemic, Neville Lawrence wouldn't have been in London when he received a phone call. He had long wedding inviting him to a meeting at Scotland Yard. I've been resettling in Jamaica home 18 years ago. He flew to Britain just before lockdown in March to see his grandchildren, intended to return home. And then he got the news. And what he's saying is that, I mean, he's, as far as I'm concerned, you cannot blame Mr. Lawrence. Of course, he's angry, still bitter for the death of his son. Who wouldn't? Keisha, what's your take on that with Mr. Lawrence?
Well, I just think the whole situation right now is so sad. I mean, the timing is a concern to me. You know, we had the Black Lives Matter movement. What we've seen in the past few months are certain people within senior positions are questioning institutional racism, whether it actually exists.
Yes.
And, you know, it's just really sad. It is really sad that hearing the news. I feel really concerned by the decision because no one wants to find themselves in a situation where they don't have the type of the closure that they really need, you know, and it's just so unfortunate that this has happened at this time. I just think the timing is just unsettling to me at this moment in time. And but at the end, you know, Stephen has left a legacy, you know, for us. Everybody in the whole of the UK knows about this case. They know about, you know, institutional racism. They know about social injustice. They understand and they know about, you know, some things that happen within the police force.
Yes.
So there's a lot of matters arising from that particular case that has come to light, and so we have a duty as a people now to, you know, be the forerunners and challenge the status quo, challenge certain things. When people are saying that the institutional racism doesn't exist, we have to say that it does. And I understand. I think we talked about Tony Sewell, I think a few weeks ago, who also questioned it or challenged that. And I understand did someone raise a challenge regarding that, his position, question his position as well. And these are the things that we have to do as a people, because you know, after the sad death of Stephen, and now obviously hearing this news in 2020, this time, you just have to question why has the Met decided that this is the right time to tell the father or tell the rest of the world that they're closing the case. You know, it just doesn't sit well right with me. Yeah.
Can I just ask a quick question? Are you guys hearing any static sound or anything? No. Perfect. And ladies and gentlemen on internet, and maybe just me, you know, sometimes I hear different things all the while. So let's carry on. Yeah.
Is that so, Silbon?
No, I completely agree, Silbon. I mean, it's a very sad day for this announcement to have been made. I mean, with the rise of Black Lives Matter movement and all the civil injustice, particularly the police force, we've just heard quite a lot of that for the last couple of weeks, what's happening. And so the timing is absolutely unfortunate. And I can't see how the family, the parents, could have closure if all the perpetrator of this crime aren't behind bars. And I think I'm not quite sure what message are we sending if we close the case. And I think we need to have keep the case open, so that those people, they feel very uncomfortable sleeping at night, the way I see it. I mean, I feel very uncomfortable with the idea that now we're saying that the case is closed, and if anything, then you just let us know. But I just think the timing is just very unfortunate. I don't think it's the right time to do that. And I can understand the pain, of course, the father and mother's obviously still going through.
I think I can see where you're coming from there. Just like how it's a right time for Kamala Harris, it is the wrong time for Lawrence and the family to get
and the father. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a level of sensitivity is not there.
Absolutely.
The little girl, what's that little girl name? Madeline. She's been locked.
I was thinking about her. It's quite interesting, you know, the irony of it all, or the juxtaposition that you never hear they say, "I'm going to close that case." Yeah. But you know, I don't want to try to read.
One is going to look at that. One is going to say, "Well, one is much longer because Stephen Lawrence death. I came here in '92 into this country, and South London where I live." So it's a long time. But let's hear what Herbert says. Herbert Muchins says, the Met was complicit from the start of the investigation. As an ex-cop myself, the way the police did their job on the investigation was nothing short of a disgrace. It had race written all over it. And that is something that everyone has seen. Dwayne Brooks experienced the whole shabam with this. Is it the McPherson report that came out?
That's right, the McPherson
report as well. That's the police's incitation of racist. This leads us straight into Dawn Butler now. I mean, regarding her being stopped. I mean, Kima, you were stopped the other day, weren't you?
Yes, and I didn't announce it as racial profiling, and I probably should have, because Dawn came out and said it was. And last week I was thinking, I was quite confused. I did not know what it was.
Dawn stole your thunder.
Exactly. Dawn came out and said the incident was racial profiling, her incident. And I'm thinking, well, we're quite similar, situations here. But my big question is the police not allowed to stop black people? And if so, we probably need to get the right message out. As I said last week when I was stopped, I was slightly confused. I wasn't quite sure what I did wrong. I did ask, but I didn't come out and say it was racial profiling. I suppose, Dawn was onto something. Of course, she's talked about this quite a lot of times. The way she went about it, her behavior in the car, whether it's the right approach, is quite questionable. But yeah, it was quite very interesting in terms of how Dawn approached it. But, whether it's racial profiling, I'm still not quite sure if it is, because she was actually in the passenger seat. And my understanding as well is that the person that was driving is a white man and not a black driver. So I'm not quite sure as well. And she was, actually, they were let go. So I don't know if it's a bit of a storm in the teacup or how, but whether it's just blown out of proportion.
I want to say that's a very classic, good question. And I see James said, the white driver. She said it was a black driver. Of course, Kamala Harris, when people see Kamala Harris, they see a white person. Well,
but still, I don't think that is the point. The point is she was not driving.
Well, that's
so as far as I'm concerned, if you're in the passenger seat and you're being stopped, you should keep quiet until the police officer question the person behind the wheel.
And the basis of their stop, whereby
exactly. I don't understand what the problem. I'm slightly confused by her approach, because she was not the driver, irrespective of whether the driver was black or white. You should only have a comment if the police officer then tell you as the passenger to come out of the car. Then you question, well, why me?
Well, let's ask a doctor, because it's an issue of the eyes are not seeing well.
I think well, we're reporting on reports, aren't we? And so only she knows whether this person was white or black. She's reported the person as being black from the reports that I've seen. Yes. But I think with this particular case, what the ambiguity of the stop and search and the discussion that's fallen out from it, I think really does take away from an issue or problem that many black men do face with regards to stop and search. And I think that's the problem with this whole story. Exactly. So whether rightly or wrongly she was trying to make a point, okay? It's a point that we already know exists within sort of a black men particularly, but this really does not help with that particular scenario and actually worsens that kind of picture. So the questions, I guess, that fall out from this are, why is it that she did this? What were the intentions? And how that detracts from a particular point of view. Whether you rightly or wrongly believe in stop and search, that's another discussion to be had. But I like yourself, Keisha, I couldn't see a particular problem with the way that the police dealt with that particular situation. From the footage that was given, at least, there didn't seem to be anything that was amiss or awry. The police have come out and said that as much so far. And so I'm a little perturbed by what the motivation was here. I think it was possibly ill-advised for her to have gone about it this particular way, and a bit more thought process in regards to what it was seeking to achieve would have been better served. But where we are where we are. She's running with it. We'll see how far the yardstick goes, but I hope that the actual story itself is buried pretty soon, and we actually investigate the use of stop and search and whether or not that's an effective way of trying to reduce crime within a particular area, whether it's an effective way to sort of have less burden on the communities that obviously just want to go about their business.
Well,
that's the real discussion point here, not Dawn Butler saying that the stop and search protocol was particularly a poor choice in regards to the car that was stopped in her situation.
Well, you see, David, what has happened? Dawn has said that she's going to sue. So everybody that talks about this topic always put this caveat up and say, well, I'm careful how I speak because I don't want to be liable to be sued. You know?
But I don't know what ground she has to sue. She's not the driver.
You know, because she's saying, you know, she
I mean, I don't understand. Why is it people aren't questioning certain things? I don't understand why would an MP use her position to raise a matter which is not quite, and I'm trying to be very diplomatic in my approach.
Yes.
It's not quite the issue. You know, we've seen the footage from last month from Bianca Williams. And David touched on the numbers of Black men who have been stuck and searched and questioned, you know, and especially, you know, from in a wider view in America, how they've been manhandled and treated and threatened, George Floyd. And then suddenly we have an MP like Dawn, who actually to me undermine everything that we've been campaigning for or campaigning against. It's really sad. And I think, you know, some people don't really see the seriousness of it, but the fact is she's an MP.
Question: she's a part of the lawmaking.
Exactly.
Okay.
And sorry, Sil, that is a good point. She understands the process as well. And if you have a problem with the police, what you need to do is follow due process. You need to actually file a complaint to the Institute of Police Conduct. There's a name for it, the organization. That is how you do it. That's what you need to do. You need to make an application to them and submit your complaint to them and let them investigate it. Not for the public to be investigating this, because there's two sides of a coin. That's what my grandmother used to say. And therefore, we need an independent person to assess it, not for the public to assess this.
I've been reading a lot of comments. A lot of people are saying, and they say, is it that Black people should not be stopped? Because once you're stopped, they're going to say racial profiling.
But that's why I'm confused still. I don't know if I should be stopped or not because I'm Black. And but seriously still, I don't know. I don't know. It's completely confuses the whole process.
So what do you think?
Sometimes, and to be fair, there's some very good police officers out there. And I'm glad, you know, there's one time many years ago, like three years ago, I was stopped, but he was like, oh, it's just a standard check around the area. Just look in my car. Is everything all right? Do you have any problems? I was like, I'm I'm fine. All right, carry on, ma'am. Next, and the second car. And it's you don't want to hinder their job. You want to encourage them that they're doing a great job. Okay. And so but if you see wrong, clearly I'm saying speak out about it if it's wrong. But at the same time, don't use somebody who's actually doing a good job to actually make a statement, make a name for yourself, which is what I believe she has done. I think that it's uncalled for and unconscionable that she used a position to actually do that.
And you think it also might be sending a wrong signal to young Black men as well, young Black women, as to say that, hey, it is like saying you shouldn't be. It does give the impression as if you should not be stopping us, period. Because once you stop us, it falls within the Black Lives Matters. Oh, don't touch us. Black Lives Matters.
It makes it difficult for people to make a genuine claim. That's my concern. There are Black men, Black boys who are driving right now who are stopped, who might be stopped and touched by the police, and they can't. When they're being threatened or treated in a negative way, they're gonna find it difficult to actually complain because you know a police officer might say, okay, well, even when there's no issue, you're gonna make it an issue anyway.
Well, I just want
the flip side, and the flip side as well, there, Keisha. The flip side is the police not interacting with somebody they feel is suspicious for fear of not wanting to step on somebody's toe as somebody called racism, and then there'd be a problem, and then community comes out, white, Black, Asian, and says, well, why didn't you stop this gentleman? You knew that they were in the area, you knew that something was going to go wrong, you had a suspicion. You know, it's a problem, and that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't be that this particular story itself is causing such a furor because it's distracting from the real problem in itself.
Yes, I agree with you, Don. I will say one thing, Kima, before I come in. Dawn needs to just stand down and apologize to the public. She needs to just claim that, you know what, put my hand up. I'm not even asking her to resign, although I think we're verging on that at the moment.
Yes.
I'm just asking her to say, you know what, I got this one wrong. That's all she needs to do.
Okay, before I go on to Kima, I want to pick up something what someone said, but I want to ask viewers, what do you think about Dawn's comment and the Dawn action? Do you think she should apologize, or do you think she should stand her ground and to say it is racial profiling? Just want to hear your views. But Herbert Mushkett said, passengers seem to believe that the police should not stop the vehicle, but how will they get a handle on crime? You know, and if we all know, we keep talking about the crime in the community, the police not doing their job. Sadiq Khan is cutting the police, according to the upcoming mayor. What's his name again?
Sadiq, Sean Bailey.
Sean Bailey.
Yeah.
So therefore, how do they fight crime? This can create a boy who cried wolf situation of an important issue, which is racism. And so that is one. Kima, what's your take on this?
Well, for me, what troubles me is the way the media, particularly on the left, quickly, without having all the facts, come out and support Dawn. And I think the police, the deputy police officer.
Sorry, media have they come out supporting Dawn?
On the left, I mean, you have a lot of the other MPs. You had Diane Abbott. What's the other one? Quite a few of them. Lamy come out and support. But this is absolutely without having all the facts at hand. And I think that lessens our credibility. You know, when there's genuine cause to raise any concerns about race and racism. So, I mean, people would naturally, in some ways, become very flippant when there's a genuine cause, because when we start flagging things up like this, where without having the full facts and without there's a due process or full investigation, we make ourselves look as if that, we're just crying wolf for the sake of it. And I just think it's very disturbing in that sense for an MP to actually be doing something like that. But, I feel for a lot of young people, they stop and search and there's a genuine cause, and then you have an MP who's inflating something who's without full process behind it.
Yeah. Well, welcome to those on Instagram as well. Thank you for joining us. We may have an after session over there. We see how my learned gentleman and lady feel about that. The key thing is about the topic about Dawn Butler and the stop and search recently, where she cried racism. And as someone said a while ago, she should be sacked for bringing Parliament into dispute. Someone said again, nobody cares about what David Lammy has to say.
Who said that? Oh, that's Dave.
At the end of the day, people have a view, and when I read all these comments, it makes you wonder and say, should I say anything about Dawn? Oh, she's black, she's Jamaican. Oh, they're gonna come down at me and say, oh, because you're
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
So you're sort of careful about saying something, but then we see Kamala Harris moving forward. We want black people to move forward, and then we're seeing these little things like it's pulling us backwards, and that's the whole nature of the whole thing, whereby integrity, the contents of one character, not the color of the skin, but I'm seeing so much of the color of the skin. Of course, it's a reality because there's.
But still,
yes.
Do you find that it's difficult as a black person to be critical of another black person who, obviously in the public, for example, because they'll say, "Oh, well, you're supposed to support your kind," And to me, I have to speak my truth. I have to speak from an honest place. And I feel that even if you're a black person and you've done something wrong, I have to call you out, because I don't think it's, I wouldn't feel comfortable within myself if I'm not honest. But at the same time, I've seen people, what I've seen on some of the on social media is almost like if you're suddenly put in a bad light, if you don't say what others are saying,
Well, listen. I'm one of the few, as they say, black conservatives in the UK. I'm used to it now. And when I comment on certain things or certain persons, I may want to comment something against Lammy or Dawn Butler or Diana, but because I know all of them, and therefore you sort of hold back, want to say anything against Diane, even though what she may be talking about is crap, if anything. And if it's another, I'm just saying that. But you want to hold back because people are going to say, oh, Sidio, yeah, I know he's a Tory. Yeah, he's going to say that, stuff like that. And therefore, the level of fairness and objectivity, so you just say, let me just keep quiet. So I most times just don't say anything when these things happen, and people and say it privately, because it's not going to really resonate well. And I think we need to reach to the point where these things can resonate well, whereby we can speak about Kamala Harris and say that, well, she locked up a lot of black people and Ray, and she created these laws. We can say about Sleepy Joe, long time, talk about a good Negro. These things can come out back, you know. But if you start to say that, they're going to say, oh, you're a Trump supporter and Ray. Shut it, man. Just get Kamala in and get Trump out. So therefore, the level of integrity, as someone said, is lost. And I don't want that level of politics. I want to be able to assess somebody and say, listen, Kamala Harris is not good because of this. Let's go for that other guy. Oh, but he's white. Well, he's better. He does things more for the black community, if anything. Can we reach that level of discussion? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just putting that out there. Can we?
And Ray.
Can we reach that level of discussion? Or just forgot about Jamaica, mash up the country, we just call it that.
I think this whole point of this discussion has been that, you know, trying to pick apart certain parts of people's character and you know, what's right, what's wrong, what we feel is right and wrong, what we go with our gut. And this particular story, yeah, I can honestly say I don't see I could potentially see where she was coming from, in the sense that she was trying to bring light on a particular topic, but I don't think this is the way forward to bring that light on this particular topic, and I think it was wrong in that regard. Do I think she needs to be sacked? No, I think people have done far worse in regards to their politics and the way that they've gone about themselves, you know, lying on oath, that sort of thing, and being completely fine. So no, I don't think she needs to be sacked. I think an apology would suffice, and then we just carry on. That's all that needs to happen in this particular regard for me.
Yes. And Keisha, what's your verdict on Dawn?
Completely agree with what David just said. Absolutely.
Yeah. Is that Keisha?
That's Keisha. Yeah, I think, you know, personally, I think she's gone too far. You know, and I think she really need to reflect on some of the things, and how she dealt with this has really impacted. I'm just more nervous about when there's a genuine concern for other people. How would that, you know, affect them? You know, but people might be treating it as a very flippant situation and not been taking it seriously. Yeah. And when you're in a position of influence, we need to take our positions of authority seriously and think about the consequences. Think about what that could mean for the next person. It might, you know, glorify us or give us a little bit of a status, but this is not about ourselves. I don't think you go into become an MP for yourself. You become an MP to represent your constituency and the population. And I think you really do need to reflect on that.
Okay. Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have exhausted our time. I didn't know you guys didn't realize we went over the 1 hour mark, but I think it's always good when we're having fun. And I'm sure many people agree, because more comments and views have come on since then. But before we go, there's been another announcement. What is your announcement? Ladies and gentlemen, you must have announced it. You got Kamala Harris announcement. You've got an announcement. And of course, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, with his clerks, stepped out in Parliament with his tie and said, I'm going to call an election September the 3rd. Clerks voted. Where did the clerks? What the song got?
When my clerks there.
I mean, he shocked out, you know. The Prime Minister is green, and therefore an election in Jamaica is going to be September the 3rd. Many people are saying, is it right at this time? Because, you know, COVID is still around, that geezer there. Because Jamaica, when people assemble for election, listen, man, no social distance there, man, because you just want to get your man in. My only thinking is that Andrew Holness, the Prime Minister, when he got the position from the then Prime Minister, which is Bruce Golding, and he was in there for a period of time, a few months, he called a general election to secure his mandate, and he lost. And right now, the polls are looking great. COVID is there. But, as I said before, September the 3rd is when? August, September the 3rd. He could be out in the pastures in the next couple of months. He could make a big gamble and could live to regret it. Again, doing some great things, but you have to remember, those are in opposition tend to be a bit much hungrier.
That is true. But I think from what I've heard, I'm going to let you come in, David, about the way he's handled the COVID situation in Jamaica. He's done it very tremendously. And a lot of other countries looked at it and thought, it's done very, very well. So hopefully, I suppose this might be going in his favor. So we see how it goes.
I think there's no doubt that you would only call an election at this point in time if you felt that the cards were stacked in your favor. The timing works for him. The fact that the tourist industry has just started back up again. We haven't got the true facts and figures as regards to recession. Okay, the big R word for the Caribbean and as a whole. This is the Jamaica in itself is a place that depends on a lot of things, but tourism is one of those key essential resources. And so, whilst the R word hasn't really come out yet, this is the timing for him, because if that recession does hit, then it's not going to be in his best interests. So I think the timing is perfect for him. I think COVID has helped open up that door, and the preparation in terms of the timing is going to be beneficial as well, because it's such a short period of time away from now. So for all those reasons, I think it's likely that he'll go past the 1-seat majority and move forward, and that's the way.
I think we got a 1-seat majority now, or 2.
1 seat, yeah. So I think it's 1 seat if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I'm sure Facebook will pick us up on that if we're incorrect.
With our fact checking. We don't mind Facebook come on do a fact check there.
Yeah, fact check on that one. But the fact is, it's a minority in a majority, and I think that he will probably be successful because of those factors that I've just mentioned.
Yes. My fellow Jamaicans who I appointed recently as honorary Jamaicans, what do you guys have to say? I think Keisha, what's your take on?
I'm glad you said honorable Jamaicans, because I was thinking, how do I get myself in? Part of the Jamaican.
Well, Keisha, I'm sure you showed me your Jamaican citizenship. I'm sure I saw that somewhere. No.
I think.
She got done.
I made a number of attempts, but it didn't quite work. You say so. No, seriously, I actually wanted to have this Jamaican citizenship. It's like having a British passport. I want a Jamaican passport. It hasn't happened yet. There's only certain grounds you can follow before you get a Jamaican passport. So until they extend, by default or something, I still by association with Silborn and David for some number of years or something. But that will help. But yeah, I'm honorable Jamaican. Quite pleased with that. Yeah, but I'm actually a fan of the I was gonna say Prime Minister. Can you say Prime? It is Prime Minister, right?
Who's that? Who's Prime Minister?
Holden.
Who's that?
Holden.
Holden. That's his name. Sorry. Yeah, and so I do follow him on my Facebook page. So I really admire admire them as a couple. I think they're like the Barack, the Obamas of our time, so refreshing, so inspirational. And I know it sounds all superficial, but to me, it's so lovely to see, very intellectual couple, representing and doing such great deeds for their constituency. So inspirational. So yes, I'd like to see them around for longer. So I'm hoping that they do win, because I just.
Well, you got James Singleton is saying that he wants to be a honorary.
Exactly, Sil. Can you just look into that for all of us?
No,
I mean, it's almost like Jamaicans are taking over the world. So what can we do to be part of this movement?
That's it. That's it. Don't worry. We're taking over the world. You are part of the movement. Don't worry about it.
No, but because as I said last week, we are living in a compliance culture, and so therefore we need documents to prove our association. So it's important for you to actually find a way to get us connected.
Well, I have an exclusive here with the Prime Minister of Jamaica, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing this, ladies and gentlemen. This is an exclusive. Well, I had an exclusive interview with him some years ago, just before he became Prime Minister. He was in London as a bona fide brethren. So let me just put my and ladies and gentlemen.
Come to the Silborn City Show, and with me today is the Honourable Andrew Holness, former Prime Minister, leader of the opposition, leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, member of parliament for West Central St. Andrew. So, Andrew, tell me, how are things in Jamaica these days? Well, for me, politics is a calling. It's something that I feel that I was born to do. The second youngest member of parliament at the time, Bruce Golding, holds the record at 24, and I was just a few months older than he was.
And how would you, as the new Prime Minister, if you win, seek to address that?
Jamaica now needs to fulfill its true potential as an economic powerhouse. Jamaica must make it a
back. You can hear me? You can hear me? You can hear me? Can you hear me, guys? Yeah?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So, Silbon, you're very important.
well,
I mean, to think that you've been associating with these at such high level. I mean, seriously, I suddenly have a new appreciation for you, Silbon. Seriously, still. Oh my God.
I'm trying to say I'm in good company with you guys, right, David? Where's David? David is muted. I don't know why David. Did you say something, Richard? David, yeah.
Yeah, you muted me, but yes, I this is beautiful. It's beautiful. That's all I can say. For one Jamaican to another, beautiful.
Oh, so still, seriously. I mean, all this connection you've got. Seriously.
I'm very grateful that I have the connection with you guys. You know what I mean? And Kim and David. And I mean, James Singleton. You know what I mean? Herbert Mushket. You know what I'm saying? The persons on Instagram and on YouTube. I think I'm blessed, man.
I don't know if you guys, I'm going to break away from here for a second, but I don't know if you guys watch Breaking Bad. There's a guy called Saul who was like the guy you better ask. And there's a show called Better Ask Saul. He get everything done for you. So you better ask Sil.
Yeah,
Sil is your man. Anything you need, you ask Sil.
Exactly.
My dog in Jamaica said, not go so. What's his name? What's his name? Not go so. Well, listen, guys, listen. Ladies and gentlemen, we sort of went overreach this moment here. It's good when we're having fun with Team Keisha, Team David, and Team Kema and myself. And thank you so much for coming on tonight. And we do it again next week. But what we'd like you to do as well is to submit some of the topics that you think is the top news for the week as well. For next week, Thursday. Tomorrow, I'm having this guy named Nana Duja. He's what is he? He's into fitness and also online fitness as well. Within the youth segment, youth connections. And the important thing of that is the lockdown is still existing to a certain extent. People are still trying to do different exercise. I want to talk about healthy eating, and it's a young person as well, because I try to get as much young people in it. And on Saturday, my plan is to have former Senator of Jamaica, Norman Washington Grant. He's a guy that drinks coffee, those Blue Mountain coffee, and he's tops. He may even do that. Hopefully, touch base, I will. And then the Deputy High Commissioner of Jamaica, she's leaving, going back to a tour of duty is finished. Hopefully, touch wood, she may be able to do an interview with me on Monday as well. I always try to get an interview with the various high commissioners before they leave. And that is because of my connection with David that sorts it out. So, what can I say? If it wasn't for David, Dr. David, I wouldn't be here. When I grow up, I want to be like him. Thank you.
Vice versa, man. Vice versa.
Okay, Keisha, Kima, guys, have a good night.
Bye, everyone.
And ladies and gentlemen, Herbert, and thank you guys so much for coming on Instagram. I don't know if you guys are going to go on Instagram. I realize we've gone over time, but if you want to go over there for 10 minutes or so, we can just regurgitate the camera. I just speak to those persons there, if that's okay. All right? And remember to like and subscribe to the Silver Show on YouTube. Yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let that go. Actually, I said I want that to go to 100,000 by the end of the year. Nothing is impossible. If it goes to 1 million, I don't mind. But 100,000 I'm looking for. But if you want to go to 1 million, I think nothing's impossible. Totally. Isn't it, David?
Dare to dream. Dare to dream. Dare to dream.
Therefore, at the same time, we do have our honorary Jamaicans there, James Singleton and everybody there. Everybody over there, everybody is Jamaican. Thank you, guys. All the best.